first of all, I just want to say hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sydney Sotelo. I am WABA's Adult Education Coordinator, and I'm happy to be facilitating our webinar on trail riding basics today. So the curriculum that you will be learning today is taken from our Confident City Cycling classes, which are in-person on-bike classes that teach bicyclists of all experience levels how to ride on trails and in traffic. Unfortunately, we will be unable to cover the on-bike components of the class today, but at the end of the webinar, I'll provide you with a coupon code to sign up for a free Confident City Cycle class once they reopen. All right, so this is what we are going to cover today. I'm going to pause at the end of each section to give everyone the chance to ask questions, but I'm also going to stick around at the end of class to answer questions and talk more in depth about what we've learned today. So we're going to be covering a lot, but don't worry, you don't need to take any notes. I will be sending out the slides in an email to everyone at the end of the presentation, and I will also be posting a recording of this training to our website. So you'll be able to access all of the links and helpful tips there. All right, so I'm just going to start off with a question that I think everyone has on their minds right now. Should you bike during COVID? And if so, how can you do it safely? And the answer is yes, you can certainly bike. You just need to be sure that you're following your state's restrictions and health and safety guidelines. But when you are biking, it is really important to ride slowly. Be extra safe, and especially if you're riding in traffic. If you're new to riding in traffic, maybe try testing those skills on quiet residential streets. We recommend that you wear a helmet, wear a face mask when riding in close proximity to others, especially on crowded trails. We ask that you please be patient. We are experiencing historic events that none of us asked for. And people are stressed and they're afraid, and a bike ride may be the thing to get their mind off the current situation or to regain some normalcy in their lives. So please be courteous and considerate of others. Don't get too close, don't speed past. Be a considerate cyclist when riding near others now and always. And then you'll want to maintain social distancing. If you cannot maintain social distancing on a crowded trail, maybe consider riding during off hours or finding a less crowded section of the trail to ride. And then lastly, have fun, because I think we could all use a little bit of fun these days. So with that, we are going to move into the first part of our training, which is how to prepare for your ride. Before you set off on your ride, you want to be sure that your bike is in good shape. That you have everything that you need and that you have a proper plan in place, because there's nothing less fun than an unexpected flat tire in the middle of your ride. So we're going to start off today's lesson with a few tips on how to properly prepare for your ride. And the first is, before you get on your bike, you always want to make sure to check that it is in proper working order. An ABC Quick Check is an acronym that helps us to remember the major bike components to check before each ride. So we'll start off with A, which stands for air. So you'll want to start off by giving both your front and your rear tires a quick squeeze to make sure that they are firm and not soft. They should feel about as hard as your thumb knuckle. Then you'll want to check the sidewall of your tire. The air pressure is printed there in PSI, which stands for pressure per square inch, and then you'll use a tire pump to fill to that number. It is a good idea to also check the tire for any cuts, tears, rocks, or any other flaws that may cause a flat. B is for brakes. So when your brakes work properly, you should be able to come to a quick and controlled stop without any issue. So start by checking your handbrake levers. There is a nice image of handbrake levers right there. The left one controls your front wheel, and then the right one controls your rear wheel. And an easy way to remember that is that right is rear. When you press down on the levers, there should be space between the lever and the handlebar. And if the levers press in all the way to the handlebar, your brakes will need to be tightened. After that, you'll want to check your brake pads. If they're worn down to less than 1/8 of an inch, then it is time for a replacement. And if you hear a lot of squeaking when you brake, or if your bike is not able to come to a complete stop when you brake, then it'll need some maintenance. And if you do not have hand brake levers, you may have coaster brakes, which are controlled when you pedal backwards. C is for chain. So take a look at your chain. Is it dry or rusted? If so, you'll want to apply a few drops of chain lube to each link. It should be free of rust and debris, and it really does help to wipe down your bike after a muddy or particularly rainy ride. It helps to hop on your bike and to ride around and practice shifting, and if your chain skips gears while riding, it may need an adjustment. So Q is for quick release. Quick releases are levers that make it easy to remove different parts of your bicycle for either maintenance or for storage. And they're usually found on your seat post and then also in the center of your wheels. Not all bikes have quick releases, but if yours do, you'll want to make sure that they're closed tightly and that they're pointed towards the back of the bicycle so that they don't get caught on things. And then lastly, check is for check. You'll want to look over the rest of your bicycle to see if you have any broken spokes, missing nuts or bolts, or if you have a wiggly seat that you can't seem to tighten. And you'll really want to fix any small issues before you ride to prevent injury or potential damage to your bicycle. And if you're unsure about how to fix those problems, you could ask a friend for help, or you could bring it to a bike shop. But also YouTube videos are a super helpful tool that we highly recommend. Next, we're going to move on to helmet fit. If you happen to have a helmet nearby, you can pick it up and follow it along. But if not, feel free to just look as I demo. So helmets are an important safety tool. WABA requires all participants to wear helmets at any of our rides, our classes, or our events. But a helmet won't work properly unless it is fitted. So you want to fit your helmet by placing it flat on the top of your head. It should come down over your forehead, but should not obstruct your vision at all. You should be able to place 2 fingers between your eyebrows and the helmet. Then you'll want to tighten the helmet so that it fits snugly around your head. Size adjusting dials or clasps can usually be found at the back of the helmet right above the nape of the neck. I'm going to put mine back on. All right. Then you'll want to clip the helmet straps beneath your chin. Tighten the strap so that it fits snugly. You should only be able to fit about 1 finger beneath the strap and your chin. And then each strap has a V shape that comes down over your ears. You'll want to make sure that the V is even on both sides with your ears sitting in the center. And then to make sure that your helmet is on correctly, you can do a quick head bang. If it doesn't move, then you're ready to ride or for a lively concert. It's also important to note that in DC, bicyclists are not required to wear a helmet unless they are under the age of 16, but just be sure to check your local laws for their rules and restrictions. All right, so next we're going to move on to planning a route. There are plenty of trails to ride in the region, and you'll really want to start off with finding the one that is right for you and for your ride. So start by asking yourself these questions. How far do you want to ride? Or better yet, how long do you want to ride for? Is the trail close, or would you need to drive or take public transit in order to get there? Would you bike from point A to point B, or would you prefer a loop? And if so, consider how you plan on getting back to where you started. And then lastly, do you prefer an easy ride or a more strenuous one? There are plenty of online resources to help you in your route planning. Google Maps has the option to turn on bike lanes and trails so that you can find ones that are near you. The Capital Bike Share app shows all of the docking stations in the region so you can ride from point to point. And then WABA's library of local bike maps is a super useful tool. It includes the DC Bike Map, which shows all of the trails in the region, including those in Maryland and Northern Virginia, and then also includes specific bike maps for different towns in the area. So we highly recommend checking that out. Weather appropriate clothing. So wearing the proper clothing will make your ride all the more enjoyable. So you'll want to start off with checking the forecast and ask yourself, do you prefer to ride in perfect, sunny, 70-degree weather, or are you okay with a little bit of rain or cold? Check the forecast before you go to make sure that you're prepared for whatever may come your way. And then also remember that moving helps to warm you up. So you don't want to wear anything that you can't take off once it starts getting hot. In that instance, you'll want to wear layers. They're your best option because you can put on or take off layers as you warm up and as you cool down. Layers like rain jackets and mid-weight layers are really best for those colder days to protect you from the elements without overheating you. And then if you stop to take a break, oftentimes the sweat on your skin may make you feel cold. So having an additional layer to throw on when you're not biking is always super helpful. Gloves or mittens. As temperatures start to drop, you'll always want to carry gloves or mittens with you. Even if it's not a particularly cold day, the wind that you generate while riding makes your hands feel extra cold, and you may need to use them for braking. So gloves or mittens are super important. And then, wear what you want. There's no uniform when it comes to riding bikes. Wear what you like and what feels the most comfortable to you. I have done just as much biking in dresses and in work clothes as I've done in athletic clothes. My one suggestion would probably be to have a change of shoes when riding because not all shoes are the most bike friendly. And then a hat or bandana. They really help if you have a lot of hair or want to prevent helmet hair. Although different hair textures, like really curly or voluminous hair, might need to be braided or pinned back in order to fit inside the helmet. But wearing a scarf or bandana also helps to protect your hair. And then lastly, don't forget the sunscreen, always an important step. So next we're going to talk a little bit about bikes on Metro and using Capital Bike Share. So yes, bicycles are allowed on the Metro. It helps you get to where you want to ride. But there are a few rules to follow to make sure that all passengers and bikes ride comfortably. So first off, you'll want to be courteous to fellow passengers because oftentimes Metro cars are crowded and bicycles do take up a fair amount of space. So you'll want to enter either using the front doors or the end doors, not the middle. And then the first and last few cars of the train tend to be a lot less crowded than the middle ones. But if a train is particularly crowded, you can always just wait for the next one to come. We also recommend using Capital Bike Share because it's a really great low-cost option if you don't have a bike of your own or if you don't want to worry about locking up your own bike outside. And Capital Bike Share members also have access to WABA city cycle classes and community rides for free. So another great reason to become a Cabby member. Great. So next we're going to move on to trail riding tips. Trails are wonderful. They're magical, car-free places set aside for all types of fun. And they're full of lots of different users. You have walkers, runners, dogs, kids, strollers. But navigating all of these users on a bike can sometimes be tricky. These trail etiquette tips will help you be the most considerate and courteous bicyclist that you can be when riding on trails. All right, so we're going to start off by talking about pedestrians. They have the right of way. You don't need to speed by or to cut them off. Be sure to give them space and be considerate and slow down to allow them to cross the trail if they need to. If a trail is particularly pedestrian heavy and it impedes your ride, consider riding at off hours or look for a less populated section of the trail. Next, you'll always want to keep to the right. This is especially important on curvy trails with blind turns, because if you're riding on the left side during a bend in the trail, someone riding in the oncoming direction may not see you in time. Go slowly when other people are around, including other bicyclists. And then when stopping for a sip of water, to take a break, or to decide where to go next, just be sure to step off of the trail because this prevents others from having to go around you. And then lastly, relax and enjoy because riding should be fun. So proper passing is an important skill to know when riding on trails because trails include a lot of different users moving at different speeds. So no matter when or where you're riding, it's likely that you'll need to pass a jogger or a stroller or someone walking on their dog, walking their dog on the trail. So you'll really want to slow down. Don't tailgate, even if the person is walking or riding slowly, because that's intimidating and not respectful to that person. Also, look all around you, including behind you, to make sure that it is clear and safe to pass. Wait to pass at straightaways so that you can ensure that there is no oncoming traffic. And then you'll want to announce your pass. Even if someone's wearing headphones, it is best to get into the habit of announcing yourself each time that you pass someone. It can be really unnerving if someone speeds around you when you're not expecting it, or if you're looking to pass and into the oncoming part of the trail. And then either call, on your left or ring your bell in order to alert others. And give as much space as you can safely. So scanning and signaling. Scanning is the act of looking around you to identify any potential obstacles or hazards that may be in your way. It also indicates to other people that you may be looking to move. So you'll just want to put your chin to your shoulder to get a quick look at what's behind you, like this. And then when it is safe to move, you'll want to use hand signals to tell others what you intend to do. So pointing left means I am turning left. Pointing right means I am turning right. And then bending your elbow and pointing or making a fist towards the ground means that I am slowing down. So some bikes have gears, and shifting means switching from one gear to another. And shifting gears while riding allows you to maintain a comfortable pedaling speed when riding either uphill or downhill or on flat ground. So you control shifting with a lever or a dial that can normally be found on your bike's handlebars. You'll want to take a look at your bike to see where your shifters are. And then when you shift up, your bike's chain jumps to a larger gear cog. This offers more resistance and helps you cover more ground with each pedal and helps you pick up speed when you're going downhill. And then shifting down means that your chain jumps to a smaller gear cog and there is less resistance when you pedal, and it makes it easier for you to pedal uphill. So you'll really want to play with your own gear shifter to feel a difference in resistance as you shift up and down. And learning how to properly shift is one of the skills that we cover in our Confident City cycling classes. Lastly, we're going to talk about, what do you do when the trail ends? So depending on how far you bike and how long you want to ride, sometimes that means reaching the end of a trail. Fortunately, many trails in our region are connected. You can check out that DC bike map that we mentioned earlier on either the DC Department of Transportation website or on the WABA website for a view of trails in DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. But if you can no longer ride on a trail, you also have the option to ride on a sidewalk or in the street. Riding on sidewalks is completely fine. You just need to go slowly and always give pedestrians the right of way. They may also not be expecting a bicyclist to be there, so just be sure to be aware of what's going on around you. And then DC code also states that bicyclists are allowed to ride on the sidewalk as long as it's outside of the central business district. And then if the trail ends or you find that you need a different way to get back from where you came from, there's also always the option to ride in a road. Quiet neighborhood streets are usually a good place to get started. So with that, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to move on to the Q&A section. Before that, I want to invite all of you to copy down the code webinar-2020. it can be redeemed for a free competency cycle class once they reopen. And in these classes, you'll learn important on-bike skills that are useful for riding on trails. And then at the end of the class, we actually go for a group ride on a trail where you will get the chance to practice the skills that you learned in class. But I appreciate you all for tuning in. Hope to see you at a future class. And then Trey is going to leave a link in the chat room for you to fill out a survey if you'd like. But I'll also include that link in the email. But for now, I'm going to stick around to answer any of your questions. If you don't have any questions, you are welcome to log off at this time. If not, we're happy to talk a little bit more about what you've learned today. And you can either ask in the chat room or you can unmute yourself. So thank you everyone so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it.